On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at an Eagles performance of Desperado that happened earlier this month in Las Vegas at the Sphere. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So I'm editing this part into the video because I've actually already filmed my video and edited it together, and I did that on the 23rd of September. So I thought it was important to edit this in because people have been sending me more data, and because I'm all about objectivity, I thought, well, the more data I can include, the better. And unfortunately, with a lot of the links that I have been sent, by the time I get to click on them, they've been removed, the videos, by obviously the Eagles team or people watching the internet for them as soon as anything's uploaded. But I did manage to get a performance from the 20th to compare to the 21st and the previous analysis video that I had done. So you might see me pop in now and again just to add in a little bit more information. So this is going to be interesting on many levels because I'm going to be able to show you the kind of detail that we get into with the vocal pitch monitor and these vocal lines, and explain some things as we go along. And as I always say, these vocal lines are like a fingerprint, so trying to sing over the top of your vocal lines twice in a row is never going to happen. On the left hand side we have a performance from the 13th of October 2023. And on the right hand side we have the performance from just a couple of days ago. On the right hand side, the vocal only came in, because it's crowd shot footage, for the second part of the first verse, so that's where we will jump in. But these are both of the vocals being played at the same time, so let's have a listen.
Why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now. Oh, you're hard, but I know that you got your reasons.
So I'm just going to jump in here because, I mean, you might be able to hear the subtle differences between the two vocals, or you might think it sounds exactly the same. And if you do think it sounds exactly the same, this is a good opportunity for me to show you why I can objectively, show on screen to you, even if you can't hear it, that these are different vocals. So what I have done is synchronize these two performances so that they are happening at the same time. And the reason that this is important, because if you thought it sounded the same, this is where I show you how each performance is a fingerprint. So when I move this across like this, and I then move it down, so that if you can see on the left hand side, which I will point out in a second, these lines are now perfectly over the top of each other, which means that the pitch from both of these performances is now synchronized. And when I say about singing over the top of your lines is impossible, if you thought that this sounded the same, when I now zoom in, look at the difference between these lines. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say that these lines are overlapping each other. And when we're just looking at the peaks, you'll see that this peak happened, a few cents higher than this one. And of course, the way that we get to this peak is totally unique with both of these vocals as well. Then this point here is a lot higher than this point. This point here is not only higher than this point, but it's happened at a totally different time. Same thing here with this slide and this slide and this one. And let me just get rid of this, because this was the pre-recorded pitch corrected vocal that was being used before my video. And now this is the line that we're getting from the new vocal. So you can see how wildly different it is. And when you're looking at this, you think, well, where's this gone? And then up here, look at the way that the peak here is in a totally different point. And this is what I'm saying, that the data that we're looking at, it is so precise. We are looking at it in increments of hundredths of a second. So the phrasing of the vocal, all of this that we're looking at, these differences between the timing and the phrasing, it's not something you can control consciously the vibrations of your vocal cords, all you can do, and I'm just going to let it play, have a listen.
So long now.
Some people would say that that sounded the same, but you can see how wildly different it is on the screen. And this is the point that Don, and just to address those people in that first video, I did a couple of videos on, you know, this whole thing, but to address the people that said, oh, well, he's just that good that he can do it exactly the same twice in a row. No one can. Nobody can cover over their vocal lines to the 100th of a second. So what we just heard was what we're seeing. And look at what it looks like on the screen. It's an absolute mess of lines, but they sounded the same. So this is the point, that they are two separate vocals. So anyway, what I can do is just, you know, literally scroll through this at any point, and it doesn't really matter which part of it you grab, it's not going to go over the top. So, by the way, the vertical scrolling on the vocal pitch monitor is just totally unique to it. It decides when it wants to show it in the middle of the screen or when it's a little bit high on the screen. So this is why when I'm doing the analysis videos, I drag it to relevant pitch. So I'm looking over here, you can see D4 is here, D4 is here. So when we drag this down to where it should be and then move across, I'm matching up that line of a D4. And, you know, once we're now in line, again, look at how these lines, I mean, it is going to help if I do zoom in, even though you can see from a distance that it's all wonky. But actually, yeah, getting in nice and close, it means that you can see these lines, how I can get them exactly right, which means you're now going to see these dramatic differences between the lines when we are zoomed in. So, again, this kind of thing. We actually went to, for a split second at the D sharp 4 there, a note that we didn't on the other performance, which was the E4. It went straight up there. So, yeah, even though it sounded the same. So this is the point, that this is plotting things here that happen so quickly, you might have a vocal that sounds like it's the same vocal, but, you know, in, what, 2/100ths of a second, it hit a D sharp 4, but it didn't register on one of the vocals because they sounded so similar. But this is the kind of thing that it will pick up. But yeah, all this kind of mess that's going on, you know, you'll see this throughout the whole thing. Something I just want to draw your attention to as well is, in my first analysis video, I pointed out that at the end of the song, the piano stops playing and there's a dramatic pause until then Don comes in with his final line of the song, his final vocal. And I said that getting that timing exactly the same night after night and year after year to the 100th of a second without any accompaniment, without a guide or a click track, is impossible to do. And everything, I mean, I can take this anywhere. Have a listen to this.
It's hard to tell the nighttime from the day.
Everything is going to be happening at the same time. So hopefully you can hear that Don's vocal is in precisely the same point, timing wise. When we get to the end of the performance, have a listen to this. So hopefully you can spot that. Now it's out of sync. So what has happened, and again, I'm not saying that they've done this because of my video, but I did point out in my video that it's impossible to get the timing exactly the same at the end of the song. And now the timing is offset at the end of the song. So another quick edit. I know that I'm saying that we can't know whether they saw my video and that's why they've changed the things that they have about the performance. But what I can say conclusively is that the videos that I used to analyze, the audio that I used and listed in my previous analysis video for people to cross-reference and get the same results themselves, those videos have now been removed. And those videos weren't on huge YouTube channels, they were just personal videos. And the people having the videos on their channel, they don't have thousands of subscribers. So again, you can read into that however you like. So now what we're going to do is have a listen to the accompaniment from 2 days ago and the accompaniment from 2023, the vocal that we just looked at, and I'm going to throw in there as well the accompaniment from March earlier this year. And I've tracked them all together, so it means that they're playing one on top of the other. And I'm going to start it at the beginning, and we'll have a listen. So just to put this in perspective, we're listening to 3 live performances separated by a year, with another performance in the middle there from March, all on top of each other. So the accompaniment, the pianist is pressing or pushing his keys at precisely the same time, a year apart, and 6 months apart. I'm going to let it continue. And I don't know about you, but I can't hear where each performance is. It sounds like one performance, but it is not. This is 3. So I know that a lot of people emailed me asking, well, if they're not singing live, or if Don wasn't singing live, are they even playing? Are they even playing their instruments? And I said that, well, because all we're doing here is listening and making a judgment on that, we haven't got visual proof. And I mean, I don't want to spend too long on all of this kind of stuff, but for me, I've never ever heard this from a live performance for a band or a pianist or anybody to nail the timing this precisely from one performance to the next, not only night after night, but year after year. So what I'm going to do now as an experiment, I'm going to jump it forward, and we're going to jump in at a random point in this performance, in all 3 performances, and see if they're still synchronized. So we're now, almost halfway into the song, and the accompaniment has not budged by anything. And listen to that guitar. That just sounded like one guitar coming in, and I would like to think that this isn't all a backing track, but at the very least, I'm hoping that the drummer is drumming along to a click with the backing track, maybe. But it is so precise. It is crazy. Like I said, I've never heard this. And again, that guitar, absolutely pristine with the phrasing, the timing to the millisecond. Anyway, we'll play on. And by the way, we're 3/4 of the way through the song now. It's not even that different with the guitar sound and the tone and everything like that. Often from night to night, you might get a natural variation in the perceived sound of your guitar because of the PA system and the different acoustic space. But we're getting just all the same sounds. Anyway, let me just move it towards the end because we'll have a quick listen. So hopefully you can hear now. At the end, we have gone out of sync, and I'll try and see if I can make this a little bit clearer. You can now hear that this piano is kind of kicking off at different points, like a little bit more in the left channel or after it happened in the right channel. So this is the changed ending. And again, I'm not saying that they've seen my video and changed the bit that I pointed out, but they've changed the timing of the piano at the end of the performance. But the massive problem is they haven't done it for the whole, 3 or 4 minutes. It's perfectly in time, in sync, and it doesn't matter where I go to. Let's go over here. Perfectly in sync. Let's move it forward by a minute. Perfectly in sync. Move it forward by another minute. Perfectly in sync. Move it now to the end where the piano is. Now we're out of sync. So what's happened is they've put this section in at the end to change the timing to make it less obvious so that Don's vocal comes in at a different time as well. I mean, I would really have, liked them to perform it fully live. So do away with the backing track as well. Actually play everything and sing. But it seems like now, I mean, having heard this and the way that the accompaniment matches so perfectly from 1 year to then 6 months later to then 6 months later after that, and not missing the timing at all. And like I said, I've never ever experienced that. And I know that professional musicians and producers will never have heard this either, other than playing the same track back. But, it's going to be up to you. I think the problem is, once bitten, twice shy. If you do it once and you get found out to have been miming and potentially using a backing track, when you then now have a live vocal, if it is a live vocal, how can people assess whether it is or not? Because, like the email said, how do we know that it's not another pre-recorded vocal that then is being mimed to? So this is the problem, but this is the hole you dig yourself, I think, unfortunately. But as you guys know, I'm all about giving you the, factual data, objective data, and the objective data for tonight can state that it is a different vocal that people are now hearing live. So I'm just going to edit this bit into my video because, as you can probably tell, I finished the video, I'm now editing it together, and I've received a lot of emails from people that keep coming through with links to videos on YouTube that have been removed by the time I get there. But I did manage to watch one from the 20th of September. So what I've been referring to in this video was the 21st of September. So I thought, in the interest of objectivity, I would analyze that vocal from the 20th of September so that we can look at that on screen. And here they are. And well, the good news is that we have another separate vocal that happened on the 20th. So what happens here is, if I move this across, you might be able to see that once I get everything in line, like that, we've got this mess going on. So the 20th was a separate vocal